Good afternoon. Hope you had a pleasant lunch. Just a short information, there's still feedback forms, though I'm afraid the t-shirts are already gone, at least the free ones. Well, there's still more to get if you want to have a conference t-shirt. There's the after party tonight at the Meta Lab, which is the local hackspace. I highly recommend going there, not only because we got good mate, but also it's because it's an awesome place to visit. And if you haven't ever been there, you should do so. Now it's my pleasure, Attila Marosi with Trap a Spam Bot.
Yeah. Thank you. Hi everybody, my name is Attila Marosi and I work for the Sophos as a threat researcher. And the presentation is about how to use spam bot as your own spy, as your own informer directly from the bad guys. So as a security product, we need information which has to be updated and very, very good. So it's very important to get the right source to get all the partners we could rely on. These partners could be spams, could be malwares, could be behaviors of malwares, and also could be network patterns. So that's the basic layer we can grab and use as a source of inputs and as a detection. So we need to good and up-to-date patterns, and these patterns and source has to be very clear to avoid the false positive detections. As an information, we get 300,000 new samples each day. But the problem with that is very good. We have almost all the new things which are available on the net, but we do not have information about the source, the context of it, how it was submitted, and what was the real context. So it's very difficult to decide which is a new malware, and it maybe use the new techniques, and that's the reason why we didn't detect before. And so get a new and valuable source when you know that this pattern and this malware could be malicious is fundamental. So we speak about spam. So how serious is spam? The spams and malwares are hand in hand. The most of the spams are delivered by malware, so it's very easy to understand that malware produces spams and spams produce malware. So you can don't face only one things. You have to fight against the two of them, because that's the way how they spread and how they works. We can divide the spams in two classes. One part could be annoying because it's something we are not interested in. For example, Viagra or something like that. And there are spams which are related with frauds or something like this. The last year, the pump and dump style malwares are very popular. When bad guys buying a little company which is on the stock market, and they just promoted and advertising the company to increase the price of it, and after that they just sell it. So it's a stock fraud. It's influence the market and the economy, but not influence your machines. So the other part of malware, which contain some malicious content, or or the spam leads you to a site, for example, which can try to exploit your system. It's a different part. So how we fight against spams and malwares? The honeypots could be very useful. Honeypot systems are important, and they are very good to collect information about offensive actors on the network or whole scale on the internet. It's very good to collect new versions of spams and malwares, and collect to new exploit techniques which are used in the wild. Honeypots could be divided into high interaction and low interaction. High interaction is very close to real system. When you emulate or use real systems to be able to analyze and catch sophisticated things. And low interaction is mostly just service emulation. In my research, I used the mix of two because I infect the virtual machines and I let to run it and hijack the network traffic and emulate the network services. So the emulation of network services was low interaction, but running a malware in a real machine, in a virtual machine, is high interaction. So it could be a mix of it. So spam trap is usually we use the abandoned email addresses which are provided by hosts to get spam messages, and fake servers to get the email which are sent to them or rely on the server. How the spam trap and the logic of spam trap looks like? There are the bad guys. They have bot servers which controls the bots, and the bots produce spam messages. And if you are lucky, you can catch each version of spam messages, but sometimes you lose it because it can avoid your trap and you have no information about that version of it because it just faced with only one country or something like this. So sometimes you catch it, sometimes you not. How this bot breeder looks like? I use a trap, a firewall, a router. The main point is all the traffic must cross through this point, and I run virtual machines. It could be real machines as well, to let the bot running and to communicate directly with the bad guys. And when they would like to produce something malicious, it just trap in the honeypot and feed it us with new information. So this is the environment, and it's separated, so not threaten the world, not have the work of the bad guys, just to get the newest information and variants directly from the bot server. So that's the logic. When I started this, I had some questions. I would like to produce some answer for them. So I wanted to measure how many spams could be delivered only one infected machine. So which is the value of it? Some bots produce so much, some bots produce less, but to count it directly, it could be a good value. How frequently the spams are changed? So which is the time period when they change the spams, the basic part of the spams, the logic of the spams. So I think it's a good question. How frequently they delivered malicious attachment? The attachment, how frequently changed? What's the basic of the changes? And the most interesting question for us, that how old are the variants when we get it from other sources? So I let it run this trap and do not feed our system to have the chance to finally measure the differences between the times. So my bot was feeded by the bad guys, and I get all the variants the same minute as it started to spread. And in other hand, we have other traps and malware feeds and contributors. And I wanted to measure which is the benefit if you collect your malware your own. And it is very good because you don't have to figure out that sample is malicious or not, because it's directly delivered by the bad guy. So there is no need to spend much time for analysis. So requirements. What is required to create a trap like this? The best part, the worst part is it needs so much knowledge about your variant, your botnets, and how it behaves, because you have to emulate all the services which could be produced valuable information for me. But in the other hand, you have to block all the malicious activities, and you must allow the bot to communicate with the control server, but all the other activities you have to emulate and block. My spam was Dophil, which is very I think it's not a very sophisticated malware. It used one dedicated port to get commands from the malware and use SOX protocol to be feeded. So it's turned the infected machines into a proxy, and the only benefit with the infection is just the IP address, which could be used by the bad guys to deliver messages. So it's not so sophisticated. For example, if you would like to breed a push-do-cutwell malware, which produced the half of the spam in the last year, so they are very productive. They use different techniques to feed and control the bots, and it's very difficult to select which is the way how the spam is fed and filled with new information, and which is the malicious part. And the other problem is that push-do-cutwell and the machines which infected with this could be used for other purposes. So it's not just for spamming. They could exploit vulnerabilities, scan the network. So you have to realize if they change the activities, the reason of the usage, and you have to block it, because if you let a malware to run and you do not care about it, you maybe have the work of the bad guy. So it's not a purpose. So which tools I use? I use virtual machines to let run the bots. I use the inet sim, which is a bunch of per script, and it's very good and useful to emulate services. It produces good logs about it, and you can use it. The only service I used it was SMTP, but it's no so many others. IP tables, I use IP tables to hijack the controls. Some Python scripts to proceed the raw information of the emails to extract the malicious content and store all the data in Kubernetes/Elasticsearch combo to make it fancy and easy to analyze. So that's the structure of the system. So that's the gateway, that's the trap. Here is the infected machines, and if it would like to connect something, I know that it's a way to keep informed and get command from the bad guy. I'll let it through. But all the other connection is just hijacked with IP tables command like this to turn it back and handled by the INET SIM. So the results, that's how it looks like after less than 2 weeks. So as you can see, it's sometimes it's less active, sometimes it's more. The details in numbers, we used this malware as a first malware to breed it, and we started at 19th of June, and I turned down the system 1st of July, so it was less than 2 weeks. During this time, it can produce more than 1 million unique spam mails, and 239,000 mail has malicious attachment. So that was the basic results. If we check the subject of the emails, the most of the mails, roughly 1 million, has one subject, pharmacy online 35% discount, and the rest of them with something like this. These messages are just spams and point to a site which was involved with Viagra, and these contains malicious attachment. So it's very clear the two part of the mails. They use more than 7.5 billion email addresses, and roughly 7 million was unique. So we could say that they use only unique email addresses. As you can see, the domains of the emails are very, very normal. I think that's the normal usage of the domains, but they are targeted more than 100,000 unique domains. So I think the email address is just gathered by or collected some other sources, so not just generated and randomly sent. They are real email addresses. So the results, which has attachment. Without attachment. The yellow means that the pharmacy. So I think this is the business part of the bots. So the bots can produce spams as a service. They get money for this service, and this is the service part of it. And the rest of them is just to provide and keep the network alive and growing. So these mails for the bad guys, these mails for the customers. The URL in spams, they used roughly 4,000 unique Twitter URL shorter, and these are point to 58 maybe infected sites. All of them has HTML file, and the content of the HTML file was this. This technique is to stack the crawlers, because for this line it could be easy to track the source, but for this you have to use other logic or script to get the final destination. It could be, if you open it with a browser or a normal email client, it will track it because it's a valid HTML text. So, but if you use some kind of scripts or wget or CURL, it will stuck at this point. So that's the technique. It's very old technique, so it's nothing new here. And the targeted URL was this. So 4,000 to 1. So that's the technique to avoid and use unique string in the emails to make the detection much difficult. So the intermediate sites where the lost HTML were, there was 58 and 30 is still working. And this research and the campaign was the middle of the summer, so these sites are abandoned, out of updates, badly badly configured, rarely visited. So they are perfect sites for bad guys to support their job. So spam with attachments, that's the interesting part. There were 16 unique zip hashes, but only 30 unique content. All of them were XZ. The reason of the difference was the name. Inside the zip, they changed the name of the XZ, so that's produced different hashes. But the content of the zip was the same. So there was 13 unique hash. That's the view of the spreading. As you can see, that's the date 20 of June. They produce so much different hashes and different malware, and this time again, but mainly they use some hashes and some variants in so much. If we check it with dates, you can see how many times they are distributed. And as you can see, in 20th of June, they produced 6 new hashes, and there were 4 new XZ because just the name was different. But so one day they can release 4 versions, 4 different XZ, which I think it's amazed me because it's only one, but not so big, and they can afford to release 4 different versions only one day. And as you can see, this is the hash which was sent so frequently, and then so the time of it was, and it was only 24 hours. So that was the biggest campaign, and it was only 24 hours. the rest of the hashes. So you can see 23rd of June was also a busy day because they also released new hashes, and the time how long they used are very few. So that's how it looked like. These are the variants which were sent so much times, and that's the interesting question. Sadly, I didn't store all the messages, so I can't answer the question why they were sent so few times, because they were so much. I don't know what's the answer for it, but if they were targeted, it could be very difficult to detect, and you will see that many of these samples wasn't catched by others. So if you have to produce detections for this, it's very difficult to catch. If we categorize the samples, we can see that they produce 4 different clusters. And as you can see, in 20 they produce 2 different. So if you have a good generic detection, and they change the logic, change the packer, they can produce a very new variant, and maybe you will miss it. So it's very, very interesting, I think. The rest of the samples, this is the 3rd cluster. They use the technique again, and this is the 4th one. So I measure the time when various data get the files, and when I get it with my trap, and compare the times. The yellow rows means that various data get the file when the campaign has already finished. So if you base your techniques on Marvel repositories, and it's not about various data, just use repositories. You maybe get the file last after then it's used, and it's are still not used again. So maybe you out of time. So the rest of the attachment, these are the samples which were sent very few times, and the virus data hasn't got it. I uploaded to virus data 2 days ago just to be there, but they never get it. So if they produce malware so frequently and it's sent only to dedicated users, maybe the repositories hasn't got it. So the attachment, there was 60 unique, 13 unique malwares, 4 different type, 4 different clusters, and the interesting part is 8 hours and 10 minutes was the average duration when how long time they use. So the question, so the answer my question, how often they release new versions is 8 hours, and it's, as I said, it's not a very bubbling and very active spam bot. So the conclusion, if you have a trap like this, you can get your malware and your variant directly from the bad guys, which is very useful. You can create detections and you can check it. Yeah, I still get it, I still know it. Oh, this is the new version and something's changed and my detection won't work anymore. So we can raise an alert and check it at the same minute as it started to spread. But on the other hand, it's required effort. You have to very careful when you want to start breeding a malware, because if you let it run, you maybe threaten the world if you not separate the malware enough carefully. So, and the other problem is, it's to feed it by different group. You have create and launch many versions of the malware. So it's almost impossible to run each instance and each configuration from different malwares. So you have to select the valuable one, which could produce valuable informations, and let it run. So it's impossible to subscribe all the bad guys. So the future development and research could be to create a system which can select which way is for feed the bots and get new information. So you have to let that way to be informed by the bad guy, and which part is for the malicious, and you have to emulate that part, because that will produce the valuable information. So some references, and thank you. And if you have any questions.
Thank you, Attila. Questions from the audience? Yes, there are.
So you said that effectively your hypothesis with the short duration spreads was that you thought maybe they were targeted things and they were trying to keep it less.
Yeah, that's the interesting part.
So I guess one of my question would be, an alternate hypothesis is maybe they were finding and fixing things, right? They release a new version, they find something's wrong, they fix it. Did everything sort of run equivalently? There, like for those samples which existed only for short periods of time, did you look, or would it have fell out automatically from your analysis if there was any problems with them, essentially?
No, I tested and they work perfectly. So there was, yeah, that was my first thought, that it's something wrong with this, and they have to release a new version to find a stable one, and then spread it so much time again. But there were no problem with this version. So I have no clue what was the reason why they just send a little times. So
further questions?
Do you know if the bad guys are actually trying to take any action against people running honeypots, such as sending themselves spam so that they can see that it gets through, or anything like that?
no, I haven't. Yeah, it could be, and I'm waiting from the time when my IPs were blocked. The bad guys continuously check and block all the IP address. What they figure out, okay, it belongs to McAfee, it belongs to Sophos, it belongs to, so they try to collect the IP address we are using, but as a spam, maybe in this research, not.
We still have time for questions. Take the opportunity.
Here?
Hi. Did you measure the time that was between the first impact of a malware at your honeypot and the detection at virus total from the virus scanners?
The yellow rear here?
Over there. Okay, that's the delta. The delta means the first
Yeah,
mention
first
on the
thing,
virus total, or the first detection from the virus scanners on virus total?
it's first seen by virus total, and
Okay.
first in
Only the first scene.
yeah, yeah. And it doesn't mean that we or anyone know what is the reason of the malware, what is it's malicious or not. It's just seen. So usually it makes more time to have your decision about the malware. So you have to get the sample as earlier stage as you can, because it still needs time to get and figure out the purpose of it.
Any further questions? No? Then thank you, Attila.
Thank you.